Ever associated mental health and mental illness? They sure sound the same, and they even look the same. However, they are very different in their own ways. In fact, over 1 billion people globally suffer from a mental health condition. 1 billion also suffer from mental illnesses. With this number of people, it is very important to understand the differences and impacts these issues cause.
Wow, that's crazy. I never knew there was a difference. But on the topic of mental problems, I know about stress relief, Canadian mental health resources, and links between mental health and substance abuse.
That's great. Well then, without delay, let's start this episode of
The Mind Lab. So, you say there's a difference between mental health and mental illness?
Yes. Let's start with talking about mental health. Just like physical health, mental health is a part of everyone's daily lives. Everyone has a certain state of mental health.
Even me?
Even you.
Cool, but what is it exactly?
Well, mental health refers to your overall emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how you think, feel, and behave in daily life. It also influences how you handle stress, relate to other people, and make decisions. That's why it's so important to maintain good mental health to lead a good life.
That's interesting, but what separates it from mental illness?
Good question. Mental illness is a medical condition that affects a person's thinking, mood, or behavior in a way that disrupts their daily life. It usually involves ongoing patterns, like intense anxiety, deep sadness, or disordered thinking. This makes it hard to function at school, work, or in relationships.
That sounds like it can be hard to live with. Can you change your state and severity of these issues?
Yes, you can change the state of your mental health, and many mental illnesses can be improved or managed, though the degree of change depends on the condition and the person. Working with a therapist, like in cognitive behavioral therapy, can help you understand patterns and build tools to manage thoughts and emotions. For some people, medication can also reduce symptom intensity, especially when things feel overwhelming. You can also maintain a balanced daily schedule so life feels lighter and easier.
Cool, but now that we know the differences, I want to talk about signs of a mental health problem.
Oh, I don't know much about that. Why is it important?
Good question. There are many reasons why, but I'll tell you. Firstly, knowing the warning signs matter because mental health issues often build gradually, and catching them early can change the outcome quite a bit. If you recognize early signs of something like depression or anxiety disorders, you can step in before symptoms become severe. Early support, whether that's lifestyle changes, therapy, or talking to someone, tends to be more effective and less intensive.
But why do I need to know if I don't have any mental health problems?
Well, it gives you awareness and helps you notice when someone else might be struggling and respond in a useful way. Without understanding, people sometimes say things like, just relax, or it's not a big deal, which can feel dismissive and make the person more upset. They can feel unimportant. Knowing the signs help you respond with more empathy, like listening, asking how they're doing, and taking them seriously.
Good point. Well, now I'm wondering, what are warning signs of a mental health problem?
Well, it can be different for each person. First, let's list emotional changes. Someone can be feeling persistently sad, empty, or down, common in depression, have excessive worry, fear, or panic, seen in anxiety disorders, have irritability, anger, or mood swings that seem out of proportion, or maybe feeling hopeless or overwhelmed.
Can you notice if they just act normal?
Not all the time. There's no single look that just tells you if someone has a mental health condition. That being said, some physical or outward signs that sometimes accompany mental health problems include noticeable changes in sleep, major weight loss or gain, constant fatigue, neglecting hygiene or appearance, restlessness, pacing, fidgeting, or slowed movement.
Well, what else?
There are behavioral thinking and communication signs too.
Well, what are they?
Well, listen up, because there's a lot. Signs could be withdrawing from family, friends, or social situations, sudden decline in work, school, or daily functioning, risky or impulsive behavior, increased use of alcohol or drugs, neglecting hygiene or responsibilities, trouble concentrating or remembering things, confused or disorganized thoughts, talking unusually fast or slowly, extreme suspiciousness or paranoia, hearing or seeing things that others do not.
Wow, that's a lot, but I'm glad I'm educated now. I noticed you mentioned alcohol and drugs a few times in examples. Why?
I've been waiting for you to say that. There are actually strong links between mental health and substance abuse. People with mental illnesses are more likely to struggle with substance abuse, and substance abuse can also increase the chances of developing mental health problems. About 20% of people with a mental illness also experience substance abuse problems. And for people with schizophrenia, the number can be much higher.
Oh, I never knew that. Why are they linked?
Mental health and substance abuse are linked because they can affect and worsen the other. Many people who struggle with mental health problems may use alcohol or drugs to cope with stress, anxiety, sadness, trauma, loneliness, or other difficult emotions. This is sometimes called self-medication. At first, substances might seem to help someone relax or escape their feelings, but over time they usually make symptoms worse.
So it kind of becomes a cycle?
Exactly. For example, someone with anxiety may drink alcohol to calm down socially, but alcohol can actually increase anxiety later on. Someone with depression might use drugs to feel happier temporarily, but afterwards they may feel even lower emotionally. Over time, people can become dependent on substances, which creates even more stress and problems in their life.
That sounds really dangerous.
It can be. Substance abuse can affect relationships, school, jobs, finances, and physical health too. It can also change how the brain works, especially if substances are used heavily over a long time. Some drugs can increase the risk of anxiety, depression, panic attacks, or even psychosis.
I know a lot about psychosis. It's when someone loses touch with reality. They may hear voices, see things that aren't there, or strongly believe things that aren't true. Certain substances, especially when misused heavily, can trigger these symptoms or make existing mental illnesses harder to manage.
Wow, so helping mental health can also help reduce substance abuse problems?
Definitely. Treating both together is really important because they often affect each other. Therapies, support groups, rehabilitation programs, and healthy coping strategies can help people recover and manage both issues more effectively.
Is there any resources people can access if they need help?
Yeah, for sure. There are actually a lot of resources in Canada, especially for teens. One really important one is Kids Help Phone. It's free, confidential, and available 24/7. You can call them or even text at 686868 and call 1-800-668-6868. This resource can be very helpful if you don't feel like talking out loud or to the people around you.
That's really good, especially for people who might be nervous to reach out.
Exactly. There's also Wellness Together Canada, which has online tools, self-guided resources, mental health information, and access to counselors. To talk to them, call 1-866-585-0445. CAMH, which also stands for Center for Addiction and Mental Health, also provides information and support for mental health and substance use issues. Again, if you want to talk to them, call 416-535-8501.
So there are actually a lot of options out there.
Yeah, and even at school, you can talk to teachers, guidance counselors, social workers, coaches, or any trusted adult. Sometimes people think they have to deal with everything alone, but reaching out early can make a huge difference.
I think some people are scared others will judge them though.
That's a really common reason people stay silent, and it connects to something called stigma.
I've heard that word before. Stigma is basically when people judge, stereotype, or misunderstand mental health problems. Some people wrongly think mental illness means someone is weak, dangerous, lazy, or dramatic, which isn't true at all.
Exactly. It makes people not want to speak up.
Exactly. Stigma can make people feel embarrassed or ashamed about what they're experiencing. Because of that, some people avoid talking about their struggles or getting professional help, even when they really need it.
And that probably makes things worse over time.
It can. Feeling isolated or unsupported can increase stress, anxiety, and depression. That's why reducing stigma is so important. People deserve to feel safe, asking for help without fear or being judged.
So how can we help reduce stigma?
One of the biggest ways is by talking openly and respectfully about mental health. We should avoid making jokes about mental illness or using harmful stereotypes. Even simple things like listening carefully, checking in on people, and talking about their feelings seriously make a huge difference.
That makes sense. Sometimes people just want to feel understood. I bet education also helps. The more people understand mental health, the easier it becomes to replace fear and misunderstanding with empathy and support.
Earlier, you said you knew about stress relief. What are some ways people can manage stress?
Here are a lot of ways, and it really depends on the person. But some common healthy coping strategies are getting enough sleep, exercising regularly, eating balanced meals, and even just going outside for fresh air or a walk.
That sounds simple, but helpful.
It really can be. Physical activity helps release chemicals in the brain that improve mood and reduce stress. Sleep is also really important because being exhausted can make emotions harder to manage.
True. Everything feels worse when you're tired. It would probably be best to be active here and there.
Exactly. Other helpful strategies include deep breathing, meditation, listening to music, journaling, drawing, spending time with friends, or doing hobbies you enjoy. Taking breaks and staying organized can also help to prevent stress from building up too much.
So stressful isn't just one big solution. It's a bunch of small, healthy habits.
Pretty much. And different things work for different people. What matters is finding healthy ways to cope instead of bottling everything up or turning to unhealthy behaviors. I feel like we covered a lot today.
Yeah, we talked about the difference between mental health and mental illness,
The warning signs to look out for,
how substance abuse connects to mental health,
ways to manage stress and find help in Canada.
and why reducing stigma and supporting others is so important.
One big thing to remember is that mental health affects everyone, even if someone doesn't have a mental illness. They still have mental health, and that needs care and attention.
And struggling with mental health doesn't make someone weak or broken. Mental illnesses are real medical conditions, and people deserve understanding and support while dealing with them.
Plus, getting help early can really improve outcomes and make recovery easier.
Exactly. Reaching out for help is actually a strong thing to do, not something to be ashamed of.
So, if you notice warning signs in yourself or someone else, don't ignore them.
Talk to someone you trust. Check in on others, and remember that support is available.
Thanks for
Listening
listening to
The Mind Lab.